Hey guys, how you doing? So listen, I've been using digital plugins ever since they first come out. I mean, it was the most amazing thing that, they, instead of carting around these big, heavy, clunky boxes, all of a sudden we had these drawings on our computers, and it was like a compressor, and it was like a delay, it was like a flanger and a chorus, and like, it was the most amazing thing. And we were just like, dude, everybody had them on. And, sometimes I had like 160 million plugins on one channel because you couldn't do that, with physical effects units. And so it was just amazing. We absolutely, it was a real breakthrough in recording, I think. And it was a few years ago now, maybe like 10 years ago, when I did Frankenstein Monster. Me and my friend Brett Cool, we were just curious to see what the difference was between, the real thing and a plugin. Because the drawings, like the little drawings that they had of them, or the photographs or whatever they were, the graphics that they used for like a Fairchild compressor, they looked amazing. They looked exactly like it. And so we thought, I wonder what the difference is exactly. And so we did some tests for about 2 or 3 days where we were just recording things through the real thing, and then we would take the plug-in version of it and record that, and to see what just to see what the difference was, to see what to see how close they'd got. Actually, that's what we actually initially set it up for. The problem was that when we listened back, it was actually quite disturbing because it sounded nothing like the box that it was supposed to be. It was really disturbing because I look back and I think how many plugins that I've put on my past recordings, and I'm thinking like, dude, this is insane. And not only was it nothing like the box, it also, when you put it on the channel itself, it degraded the sound. There was something wrong with the sound. Something happened to the sound of the instrument where it just didn't sound like it anymore. And sometimes it was real subtle. Like if you take the speaker grills off your speakers and put them back on, like sometimes it was that subtle where you kind of like, is it different? Is it, you're doing that whole thing? And sometimes it was really not subtle at all. It was just horrendous. And it was always this kind of like nasty, weird, there's actually no words for it. It did something to the sound that I don't think there's words for. There's no way to like describe it. It's like, it's like trying to describe the taste of beef to somebody who's never eaten beef. It's like, like the words are too cumbersome. Yeah, it's almost like an experience, really. And so we're playing these, we're playing these things back, and there's a noise on them. Some noise is introduced into the instrument. And when we did that to like 48 channels, the noise became louder and it took over our whole recording. And then we put a plug-in on the stereo bus, and the signal went through that, and it made it twice as bad on the mastering plugins. It was really disturbing. And the EQ plugins, like, actually, even if you didn't turn them on, if you just put them on the channel and didn't add anything, just put them on the channel, the first thing that happened is that the signal went loud. So I think that the software plugin companies have realized that if they set it the default, that when you put it on your channel, it goes louder, that you think it's a better sound. I think that's the way, because that's what I used to think. I'd put a plugin on the channel and it would go loud, and I'd go, wow, this is amazing, because it was loud. But when I turned it back down to the same volume as what my original recording was, it was actually worse than it was, with the plugin on. And it's so even just having it on the channel, even if it's, you're not +1 or +2, nothing, just put it on the channel, the signal passes through the plugin and it does that thing to it. Whatever, again, I don't know how to describe it, but it does that thing to it. And then you've got the plugins on the stereo bus. When you put them on, it does that thing to it again. I mean, we were doing all sorts of things, like recording a drum kit, and they had just sounded like, they sounded fine. And then you put the plugins on, and all of a sudden it's like, what just happened to that? It's such a weird thing. What happened to that? That's so weird, dude. And so we on this recording, because we went for a natural recording, we used absolutely no software plugins whatsoever. We refused to do them because of that reason. I'm not saying you shouldn't use them. I don't mean it like that, or you shouldn't do. I'm just saying that it's for this particular recording. You know, going for a natural sound. That's, you know, it was particular to that. You know, I'm sure I'll use them again, but I'm just saying for this recording, like, you know, we took them all off, and so we got this really natural sound. There's no EQ on it. There's no compression on it. There's no, you know, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. With one exception, we had a reverb unit. I called my friend Dave Kersner and I said, Dave, I need a reverb, because all the reverbs we were testing, we'd put them on the channel and they just sounded nasty. Paul has a really expensive hi-fi setup, like incredibly expensive. So the detail on his system, you can hear everything, dude. And we were listening to these reverbs. I was sending them back and forth to Paul, and it was pretty disturbing. You know, I've got a good unit here too, you know, so I could hear it too. And it was just, the reverbs were just kind of not nice. It wasn't a nice thing. It was almost like a you know, kind of like just bad version of a reverb. It was just not good. And I spoke to Dave, and Dave suggested one Sunset Sound, which is IK Multimedia Sunset Sound. And there was one setting on that one that we used throughout the entire album. You know, we edited it and stuff like that, but you know, that was the best one. I can't remember what the setting was. I'll put a link on this page so you can check out which one it is. But that was the one. But the condition was this. The condition was you do not put it on the channel. You have to use it as a send. And you have to take out the direct signal out of the send, out of the reverb. So your channel is exactly the same. You don't touch it. And you send some reverb off, and the only thing that gets played on the send is the reverb, which is what most people do anyway. But I just want to, you know, make sure you know that. If you put it on the channel, something happens. I don't know what. It does something to the sound of the instrument you've recorded. But if you use it as a send, the reverb, or maybe a delay, you can do that with as well. Digital delays, you could possibly do that. EQ is a pretty bad idea with the digital stuff, because it really does that thing. It does that thing to it like twice as bad. The EQs are probably the worst culprits at all, out of all of them. And it adds that, you know, whatever that thing is, it adds that thing in. And so we used, so there's no EQ on the album. There's no plugins on any of the channels. Nothing like that. There's absolutely nothing. And I think you'll hear it in the recording. You'll hear the difference. You know, we didn't go for volume or any of that stuff. You know, we weren't trying to make it louder. We weren't normalizing things or anything like that. We just kept it, you know, kind of a reasonable level. And so you might have to turn it up. It might be 3, 4, 5 dB quieter than those plug-in albums. But that's all right. Just turn it up. You know, you'll want to turn it up. It's got a bit, you know, it's a bit more subtle than what a modern day music is. And, you know, I'm quite aware that nobody gives a shit. I understand that. I'm not saying anybody should give a shit. You know, people just want an MP3 and, you know, they'll play it in their car or whatever while having a conversation at the same time. And, you know, when the chorus comes up, they'll sing along to the chorus. You know, I understand. I'm not like, you know, I don't mean, you know, mean this in any like, you know, you should do this or no, not at all. You should do whatever you want. But for this natural recording, this is what we did. And again, nobody gives a shit, but we do.